Story 1. The Window in the Parlor. Crawford never liked talking about that summer of 1948. Not even when he was well into his 80s and people asked him again and again to tell the story. He'd sit in his recliner, his eyes getting that glassy, far-off look, and he'd rub his jaw like he was trying to keep his teeth from chattering. When he did speak, it always came out in a kind of low mutter, like words he regretted letting loose. He and his brother Dale were farm boys, living 3 miles outside of Bonham, Texas. They'd been raised on chores, heat, and church sermons that warned them about women with lipstick and liquor. But they were boys, and boys did stupid things to make each other laugh. That summer, the stupidest thing they did was dare each other to go into the old house on County Road 11. Everyone in town knew the place. The cedar trees hung thick and shadowed around the gate, and the porch sagged like a busted ribcage. The house hadn't been lived in for decades, not since the Mistress disappeared. The kids whispered about her at school. Some said she was a witch. Some said a devil's woman who lured married men to her parlor. And some said she was neither alive nor dead. On a sticky August night, Crawford and Dale snuck off with a lantern. The moonlight was sharp, silvering the fields, and the house stood out like a bruise in the distance. Crawford remembered the air, smelling wrong as soon as they stepped past the cedar trees. Heavy, metallic, like blood dried on a nail. They climbed the steps, boards groaning under their bare feet. Dale went first, holding the lantern, and pressed his face to the dusty parlor window. He rubbed a patch clean with his sleeve, peered in, and went so pale Crawford thought he'd faint. Dale dropped the lantern hard enough to crack the glass, spilling oil down the steps. He bolted without a word, disappearing into the cedar shadows. Crawford didn't run. He was trembling, yes, but he couldn't bring himself to leave without knowing. He leaned close and wiped his own patch in the dirt. The parlor wasn't dark. A faint glow shimmered from somewhere inside, a pale golden light without a source. And in that glow, at a vanity draped with a yellowing lace cloth, sat a woman. She brushed her long black hair in slow, deliberate strokes, humming something that didn't sound quite like a song. It was too broken, too crooked, like an old hymn spun backwards. She wasn't beautiful the way the story said. She was something else. Her face in the mirror wasn't still. Her features shifted under her skin, as though her flesh was a mask moving over something crawling beneath. Her mouth twisted too wide, her nose slid crooked. Her eyes locked with his in the glass. The humming grew louder, though he swore she never opened her lips. The mirror trembled, and he swore he felt, her reflection, looking back at him, even after he stumbled and ran, even when his eyes were squeezed shut. He caught up to Dale down the road. His brother was crying, gasping that she's still in there, and refused to say another word about it. For the rest of that summer, Dale woke screaming, swearing he saw her at the end of his bed brushing her hair. He wasted away in the years that followed, gaunt and sleepless, until one night he wandered into the barn and hung himself from a rafter. Crawford lived a long life, but he never looked in a mirror at night again. When asked why, he'd mutter, "Because sometimes she's still there, brushing." Story 2. The Man by the River. Alan wasn't a bad man, but he was a lonely one. He lived out of a trailer on the edge of Bonham in the 1970s, kept to himself, and spent most nights on the Red River with a rod, a lantern, and a cooler of beer. Fishing was his way of quieting the noise in his head. One blistering August evening, he hooked something that nearly tore the pole from his hands. It dragged him halfway down the bank, line cutting deep into his palms, before he hauled it to the surface. But what surfaced wasn't a catfish. It was a man, bloated, pale, his skin stretched and splitting from days in the current. His fingertips were peeled raw, as though something had gnawed them down to bone. Alan dropped his pole, stumbling back as the body rolled closer with the push of the water. The eyes were open, wide, and black with river rot. In those eyes, Alan swore he saw her. A woman, long black hair clinging to her shoulders, brushing it with deliberate strokes even as the corpse bobbed in the water. Red lips curved into something that wasn't a smile. The water around the body rippled in time with her humming. That night Alan dreamed of her. She stood at the edge of the riverbank, skin pale as milk, hair brushing across her shoulders. She held out her hand, crooking her finger for him to step into the water. When her mouth opened, It wasn't words that came out, but a gush of river water, filling his ears, his mouth, his lungs until he jolted awake in his trailer, gasping. His sheets were wet. The floorboards, too. No leaks in the roof. Over the next 2 weeks, he stopped coming into town. Neighbors said his eyes looked strange, his skin grey, his hair wet no matter the weather. Then one night, his boat was found drifting empty, his cooler overturned, his tackle box scattered. In the bottom of the boat were clumps of long, black hair, tangled and slick with river mud. The sheriff chalked it up to drowning, but the old-timers knew. They said the mistress never left Bonham. She fed on men who strayed too close, who gave her the opening she needed. Alan wasn't the first. He wouldn't be the last. On stormy nights, when the river swells high and angry, some say you can hear her humming carried by the current. And if you see a woman combing her hair by the water's edge, you'd best look away. Story 3. The Return on County Road 11. Rebecca was 27, freshly divorced, and tired of the city. When her grandmother died, she inherited the old house on County Road 11. No one understood why her grandmother had owned it. She'd never lived there. Not once, but the deed was legal. Rebecca thought of it as a new beginning, a place to rebuild. The house was a ruin, but she had plans. She brought in boxes, swept out the dust, hung curtains to block the curious stares from the road. At first, she came into town often. Groceries, hardware, the usual. But people said she looked paler each week, her hair darker, her smile thinner. By July, she stopped coming into town at all. The grocery boy who used to deliver to her said she scared him. First, it was little things. Her eyes not lining up quite right. Her lips stretched too wide when she thanked him. By the third delivery, he swore it wasn't her anymore. He said she looked like someone else was wearing her skin like a poorly fitted dress. Then the storms came. One night in August, lightning lit up the countryside, and people swore they saw Rebecca in the upstairs window, brushing her hair. But the hair wasn't hers. It was longer, heavier, black as coal. And the reflection in the glass wasn't her face. When the sheriff finally forced his way inside, the house was empty. Her clothes gone, her boxes gone. The only thing uncovered in the house was the vanity in the upstairs parlor. Its mirror was cracked, smeared with red lipstick in the shape of a smile. No one lives there now. The windows rot, the porch sags. But if you drive down County Road 11 late at night, you'll see the faintest flicker in the upstairs glass. If you look too long, you might see her standing there, brushing that endless hair, waiting with that smile that doesn't belong to a human mouth. And once you see her, she doesn't forget you.